Greetings everyone, I am Dr. Wolf and I just saw Equestria Girls Spring Breakdown. I'm not entirely sure how to rate this particular special. It honestly seems like it goes all over the place. Some parts I'm getting really excited to see what'll happen next. I'm feeling really invested into the story and I'm laughing at the jokes. And plenty of other parts I'm just waiting for something to happen. I'm hoping that they'll move on from a particular plot point, or the jokes just fall completely flat. I don't know if I'd call it great. I don't know if I'd call it bad. It seems to be right in the middle, but I don't know. Let's get into some of the details here. First off, the girls are off on a cruise ship for spring break. I don't know about you, but it seems like that cruise ship is a little smaller than most. Or maybe I'm just not used to a cruise ship that only has maybe a couple hundred people at most on it. Rainbow Dash is obviously the focus of this story. You've got plenty with Twilight and Sunset Shimmer, but this is really Rainbow Dash's story. I'm not sure it was a smart idea to try and focus on little tidbits from the rest of the group. I know that there are plenty of people who want to see their favorite ponies or girls, but I think it might have actually helped if they spent more time focusing on what Rainbow Dash was trying to do, because the way that they are stepping up Rainbow Dash's arrogance and trying to get her own way when the rest of the group is clearly not interested, it's sometimes a little hard to swallow. I will say this is not the first time that's happened, not in Equestria Girls and certainly not in the regular series, that Rainbow Dash is almost completely focused on herself. I mean, there's plenty of examples throughout the show. It's just seeing it again in this setting because they have focused little tidbits on the rest of the main 7 here, that they have to rush through a number of scenes and get Rainbow Dash angry enough to go off on her own. It's a little difficult to bear with that without rolling your eyes at least a couple of moments. I do like the idea they were trying to go for, but I don't know there was enough time to really flesh that out. At the same time, I'm not entirely sure it was a good idea to go off on all these different tangents. You got Pinkie Pie obsessed with a particular chocolate dessert, which at first is fun, when that is the only thing that she's doing pretty much the entire special, and it kind of wraps up that this chef with this really bad French accent is able to forgive her because Pinkie Pie saved her from this chocolate dessert that has her trapped in seawater. It's just weird. It's really weird. It's fun to see Pinkie Pie being Pinkie Pie, but I don't know if it was really worth it to focus on this little story arc. And then we have something like Rarity and this ragamuffin character. I really don't know what to make of him. I mean, the first time that you see him, by golly, that's real corporate, is. And he's doing that throughout every scene he's in. And I have to admit, the longer this went on, the more this accent was starting to grate on me. And I was trying to wrap my head around why they would portray a character like this just so Rarity can have this very, very quick little spring break romance. Until it gets to the very end, and he breaks his accent completely, and then you're like, wait, it was intentionally fake?
That's the best advice I've ever heard.
He was trying to do all of that just so he could get Rarity's attention? Oh my goodness, I mean, yeah, this special got me because I thought that was supposed to be intentional, and then it turns out, nope, it was all just a show. Oh, I don't know what to make of that. It's bizarre and yet a little funny at the same time that they pulled one over on us like that. I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. And then you have little tidbits like Applejack getting seasick, which can be fun at times. And Fluttershy spending her day with animals, and yeah, that's pretty typical. And then Rainbow spending her time demanding that something exciting happen where there's people being put in danger. I mean, her first scene is basically saying, I wish there was this gigantic sea monster that's terrifying everybody on board and we get to save the day. And I'm not entirely sure the writers knew what to do with that. It was sort of effective at getting Rainbow to go off on her own because she's upsetting everybody else with her constant focus on this one thing. But again, it's hit and miss. It's really hit and miss. You have Twilight and Sunset going after her in a storm, which really, the story is making these girls go off on their own in very rough seas. Please don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that. And then on the island, when she's suddenly in quicksand and still trying to play tough for a little bit, I'm like, can we just move on to the part where she makes up with everybody? And thankfully she does. It doesn't take much longer for that. And then we finally get to the part of this special, which I'm sure most everyone appreciated, where Rainbow and Twilight and Sunset are suddenly in Equestria. And Twilight is having her freak out moments. And you can tell that throughout the rest of this special that Rainbow has her wings down all the time and Twilight is getting over her freak out and fascinated by everything she sees. It's actually fun to see a return of Unicorn Twilight, even with the glasses. And seeing them sneaking around Ponyville and interacting with Alicorn Twilight and Spike, the little conversations they have, those are fun too, because Spike talks about how he went to a dragon wedding, and I'm thinking, well, I wonder what that would be like. Goodness, how violent might that be? Or would there be a mountain of gemstones where people would be trying to devour as much as they can? I don't know. Somebody write a fanfic about that. But then there's something else I noticed. If you look closely, Spike doesn't actually have his wings in this scene. So that means, is this right after the movie? It would make sense because this is the Storm King's magic, which is somehow seeped into the Equestria Girls universe. And if it had waited for many, many months before it finally showed itself, before it was finally threatening someone, it would be a little questionable. But if this happens right after the movie and this Storm is reacting to the Equestria Girls' magic, I can get behind that. I like that idea. This is going back in time a little bit, at least as far as the TV series universe. I also appreciate that when Twilight and Sunset and Rainbow are using this staff to draw all of the storm, and they're going off and trying to give just a hint of a lesson, basically saying Rainbow shouldn't be asking for that kind of adventurous excitement where everybody's put in danger. And in the background, the ship is still sinking. There's a flare gun going off and everybody's screaming for help. That was fun. It's way different from most any other lesson I've learned scene, because they're completely oblivious to the fact that, hey, the danger is still very real over there. So yeah, that was enjoyable. And then you have plenty of scenes where everybody's going pony up, or as Rainbow put it, rainbow lasers. And very quickly going through scenes where every member of the main seven is having their save the day moment. And that's pretty much it. There's a very, very brief moment where Sunset gets everybody from the cruise ship to go into Equestria in order to get off this island. Why did you stop there? Why did you spend so much time on all of these other hit and miss moments when this is by far the most interesting element? I know this is called Equestria Girls, and if they spent too much time in the pony universe, then it probably wouldn't be Equestria Girls anymore, but yeah, I wanted to see what would happen if you put all of these Equestria Girls people into the pony universe. The fan fiction potential, it goes through the roof. I love that kind of thing. We got hints of that here, but I don't know. It's maybe going back to the idea that I've never felt as interested in the Equestria Girls series and movies as I am in the original TV show. It's the magic and all of the various creatures and exotic lands. That's what makes it much more interesting to me. I've never found high school settings and following the story of teenagers doing high school things that interesting. It's really the characters and their dynamic with each other that keeps pulling me back. So, yeah, I would have loved to see more of the Pony universe, but it wouldn't be Equestria Girls if they're spending that much more time in the Pony universe. So, it's back and forth, I suppose. I can understand why they do it, but it's still a little bit of lost potential. Overall, though, Spring Breakdown it's meh. There were plenty of moments that made me laugh and other moments that, like when Rainbow Dash is trying the fondue and it says, "Ha, ha, too hot. It needs to be about 20% cooler." Boo! Boo! Oh goodness, that was over the top. Oh wow. I would have loved to have more moments that made me chuckle. I would have loved to see the story move on a little bit quicker to the more interesting details. At some points it's kinda nice that each of the main 7 have their little moments, and at other points I'm like, you're rushing the story, especially when it gets into the second half. Because the first half feels like it's moving too slowly, and then the interesting parts come and go. Ow, I wanted to see more of that. I still think that last year's Forgotten Friendship is 10 times more interesting than anything that we've gotten here. Especially with the lessons it was trying to teach and how Equestria itself was integrated into the moral, because Sunset finally meeting with Celestia actually worked into the final conflict when she returned to the Equestria Girls universe. It was a much more flowing story. Again, as I've said before, Spring Breakdown, it's all over the place. Some parts really work, other parts I'm just waiting for something to happen. But then again, what do you think? Given all the hype that's been building up to finally seeing Equestria Girls Twilight and Rainbow finally coming to the Pony universe, did it work? What would you say about all these various little short stories about, say, Pinkie Pie and Rarity? Would it have been better to expand on those or remove them completely? I would like to hear your thoughts on Equestria Girls Spring Breakdown. And, as always, I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.